Today, we're celebrating the historic strides for some of the most loyal, hardworking patriots anywhere in the nation, and they're really called our American farmers, and we're with you 1,000%, or I wouldn't be here. 90 days, watch what happens. You're going to be better than you were 4 months ago. What happened to you is artificial with the energy and with the fertilizer. You've seen fertilizer go up, and you've seen energy go up. It's going to come down to where it was or lower.
That's President Trump earlier tonight renewing his pitch to American farmers, this time in the battleground Wisconsin, where Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden is locked in one of the most competitive midterm contests that will determine control of the House. The White House branding, fighting for American farmers, a blazing sign that signaled the GOP knows this is a critical voting bloc, and it's one that's gotten slammed by the president's tariffs and now face soaring fuel and fertilizer prices as a result of the Iran war. My source in Wisconsin tonight is the state's former Lieutenant Governor, Mandela Barnes, who is now running to be the Badger State's Democratic nominee for governor. Thank you so much for being here. This was the president's first time in Wisconsin since he won your state in 2024. Did being on the ground there today give him a realistic understanding of what farmers are facing?
Of course, it didn't give them a realistic understanding. And honestly, the slogan should have been fighting American farmers, because that's what it's felt like for all this time. Now, a couple days prior to his visit, I made a stop in the Chippewa Valley, the same exact county that Donald Trump was in. And I had my own roundtable discussion with a group of family farmers who aired their grievances, who talked about how they have absolutely been failed by the president. He said things are going to get better in a few weeks. Well, the fact is things have gotten worse because of Donald Trump's poor decision making, and Tom Tiffany has been with him every step of the way. This illegal war in Iran that has cost or driven up fuel costs for people, the tariffs, the devastating impact that has made it difficult for our small businesses and our family farms. A lot of places have gone out of business. We've seen record farm bankruptcies, and it wasn't easy before, but Donald Trump has made a bad situation even worse. Rural Wisconsin has been good to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has not been good to rural Wisconsin or rural America.
But the president was also there to support Congressman Derek Van Orden's reelection campaign. Two members of the president's cabinet recently visited this district. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins was there today. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. was there earlier this week. I want you to listen to what Van Orden said to voters during that stop.
I think for decades, rural America has been forgotten by Washington, D.C. They think we're just a bunch of rubes out here. If you walk in that booth right there, there's a robot that is an incredibly sophisticated piece of equipment that's integrated with these RFID tags, with the feeding system, with the nutrition system. So Washington, D.C. just forgets about rural America. It is abundantly clear by the amount of cabinet-level secretaries that are here that the Trump administration cares about rural America.
What do you say to Van Orden and his supporters who have pointed to the administration efforts to distribute $12 billion in aid to farmers?
Well, based on Derek Van Orden's behavior earlier today, it seems like he forgets a lot of things. And I'm going to say that based on what I have heard, based on what we've talked about so many times in the past, while I was lieutenant governor, it was the first round of Donald Trump's tariffs. And one of the guys told me at a farm I was visiting, he said, when I asked him, I said, well, what is going to be the impact of these tariffs? He said, if you're asking me if this is going to be the death knell of rural America, then the answer is yes. And now there is a second round of tariffs. So even for the folks who have been resilient, who have been able to get back on their feet and have been able to compete in spite of, the fact is it feels like everything Donald Trump is doing is actually making it worse. And we're not even talking about issues like healthcare and overall affordability. These are areas where Donald Trump has not just left people behind, but absolutely made it worse. The rollback of the Affordable Care Act tax credits that's going to drive up costs for our family farmers. Our farm bankruptcies are up 700%. I've talked to folks who've gotten letters saying that their health insurance premiums were going to increase from $275 a month to over $1,600 a month. These are people who said they ripped up the letter because they aren't going to be able to afford health insurance. Donald Trump is ruining quality of life, not just in rural America, but all across Wisconsin.
I do want to ask you about the economic data that we saw today. The economy added 172,000 jobs last month. That's beyond expectations, and it moved up the numbers from the last 2 months as well. AAA says gas prices are now down about 20 cents per gallon in a week. It's the second week of decline. Do you think the White House is doing some of the things right on the economy that it's talking about?
Well, you don't get credit for putting a Band-Aid on the stab wounds that have been inflicted upon most Americans. Gas prices are down just a little bit, but think about how high they went up and the fact that we aren't anywhere near where we were before Donald Trump decided that he wanted to launch an illegal war of choice. So no, the Trump administration does not get credit for what is somewhat of a rebound of an incredibly difficult situation, because things are still very bad. People are still paying way more for everything they have that has a price tag, whether it's gas, whether it's groceries, whether it's utility bills, whether it's housing. There is no end in sight with this administration. There is every reason for people to be frustrated and to carry out that frustration this November. That's why I'm running for governor. People interested in the campaign, MandelaBarnes.com. Would love to have you on board, because Tom Tiffany has been with Donald Trump every step of the way as a member of Congress. He said these tariffs were a good thing. He suggested to folks who might be afraid of losing their jobs to artificial intelligence that they should just get a new job.
Right.
So please join this fight to make sure we stop Tom Tiffany from becoming the governor of Wisconsin. We stop Trumpism in America.